Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. As you can see by the title of today's episode, we're talking about, so they want 2 to 3 years of experience for an entry-level role, entry-level job in clinical research. They want 2 to 3 years of experience. Wow. So let's go ahead and get into that, guys. So before we do, if you have any interest in getting your resume reviewed, career consulting, salary negotiation, any interest in that, make sure you email me eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com or your resume reviewed. I don't know if I mentioned that. Or you have any questions. You have any questions I haven't answered yet? Send me an email. But I also want you guys to know that just because I made an episode a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it doesn't mean that it's not good information still. So I want you guys, if you are thinking about asking me a question, go back in the past and make sure I haven't done an episode on it, because I'm starting to get a lot of repeat questions that I've done a gazillion times already. But still, don't be afraid to ask a question. I'm not going to bite your head off or something. But yeah, just want to let you guys know that watch my old episodes. They're still very, very applicable today, even though they might be 2-3 years old at this point. We've been making content here for a long while. So thank you guys, the supporters, the listeners, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Leave us a review if you're listening on the podcast. But please go ahead and subscribe. That helps us out a lot, helps us in the rankings, helps more clinical researchers and people that are interested in clinical research find this information. So thank you guys so much for the help over the years with that. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So 2 to 3 years of experience for an entry-level job, that doesn't really sound like an entry-level job to me, does it? Well, that's because in clinical research, they kind of lie. So they might say, let's say a CRA, for example, they want entry-level CRA. Well, for other industries, entry-level means zero experience in the industry, right? Yes, but in clinical research, entry-level could mean that, zero experience, but it also could mean no experience in that role. So when they say they're looking for an entry-level CRA, they mean someone with clinical research experience, but no experience as a CRA. So this can be confusing. Now, I just use CRA for an example, but they do this with all types of positions. They might say entry-level project manager. But what they really want is someone who has clinical research experience in some form or fashion. Could be project coordinator, CTA, study coordinator, you name it, but doesn't have any experience in that role. But they commonly do this with CRA type positions. And it's crazy because it's confusing, and it's not industry, and it's not across all industries. A lot of people email me and say, ECRG, I'm coming from, lab-based research or lab science, bench research. How do I get into clinical research? And they're like, I'm applying for these entry-level jobs, but I'm just keep getting rejected over and over and over again. Now, of course, the problem could be your resume. Of course, the problem could be you've only applied to 1 or 2 jobs. That's not going to cut it. And, it could be a number of problems. And that's why it helps if you email me and book a 30-minute or an hour session with me for career consulting, so we can determine what the issue is, why you're not getting into the industry like you like. But that could be what it is. So a lot of times they put 2 to 3 years experience out there, and that's because they want 2 to 3 years experience in clinical research before you apply to that role. And this is where a lot of people get confused, because they see these job postings and they think CRA is an entry-level position. It is far from an entry-level position. You need experience in clinical research before you can be a good CRA, before you can be even a decent CRA. So keep that in mind. A lot of people want to start out study coordinator, and of course they do have entry-level study coordinator positions, but they might say entry-level and then want 2 to 3 years of clinical research experience. Of course, that's false, but that is what it is. So make sure you're reading those job descriptions when they send them out, guys. But a lot of the times I encourage my clients to apply for those jobs anyway. Again, we're 4 minutes 45 seconds into this episode. So I hope those people are listening. Because I think I saw my average listen of my episode is 3 minutes and some change. So I left this gem in here for you guys that are sticking around. Yes, I encourage my clients to apply for those jobs anyway, for a couple reasons. First reason is, and this is the big reason, is that's just their ideal candidate. A lot of times they may say they want someone with 2 to 3 years experience, but they'll take someone with less, who has some other things to bring to the table because they're willing to pay you a little less. And you're willing to take that job on because of the experience factor. You can get that experience and then go on to bigger and better things in clinical research. That's the first reason. Second reason is when you're trying to get your foot in the door in clinical research, it's in your best interest to know as many recruiters and hiring managers as possible. And a lot of times they may say, hey, look, applicant, you're a little inexperienced for this type of role, but we have this other role that's coming up, and I can have you apply for it, before it even comes out on the forums. And that's the reason why. A lot of times they'll put you in other roles that you didn't even know about or would not have heard about when you apply to these positions. So that's the real reason. So yeah, don't apply for something that requires 5 years of experience because you're not going to get it. You're just going to look stupid. But definitely apply to something entry level, 1 to 2 years experience, maybe even 3. If it's a study coordinator role and they have entry-level study coordinator positions, definitely apply for that 2 to 3 years. But if it's a project manager role, that's not entry-level, and they want 3 years experience, probably not in your best interest to apply for that. But those roles that are entry-level, CTA, clinical trial assistant, project specialist, project coordinator, project manager assistant, those type of roles, definitely apply with two years experience if they say they want that. Because that's how you can really network and get other jobs from that. It's not really about getting that job, but it's about getting other jobs from that. And networking with those recruiters and hiring managers and being friends with them on LinkedIn. All of those things. So, yeah, guys, that's how you tackle that if they want a few years of experience. And of course, being patient and being aggressive. Being very, very aggressive, because this industry is very, very, how do I say this? This industry is very, very competitive. And so you want to make sure that you are in the best position to be able to get into this industry. So hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, email me eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com.